So, I'm back. Hi everyone and welcome back to They Love. Man, it feels like it's been a long time since I said that. It probably has. I took a bit of a break that was not really intentional. I do have a bit of a channel update for you guys, so if you want to get straight to my thoughts on Smallville, I'll put a time up on the screen somewhere, but here is a small update for what's happening on the channel and what's happening with me, I guess. I don't know. But you will notice I did not do weekly Loki reviews, even though I did want to, but man, you know what, I realized it is hard. I respect the people who can really cover things weekly with videos and editing and everything. But I actually turned my Loki reviews into written reviews for Daily Planet, and I've been writing more for the Daily Planet, which I'm so happy about. Yeah, I'm actually also a host now for the Council podcast, and over there this summer we're doing live reviews, so that's been a fun time. But when it comes to this channel and what you guys can look forward to with this They Love channel, this video is a perfect example of the videos I really like doing, because it's something that is like, you know, more in depth, more something I can, you know, take more time for. Like for example, I did a video on why you should watch Warrior. I did a video on Man of Steel. So I just really like doing videos where I just watch something or I think about something, maybe return to it, rewatch and whatever, and I just make a video about it. Not so much relying on like reviews. That way I can, you know, put reviews for writing for Daily Planet, or, you know, just have more time to make sure these videos come out so good. Even though this Smallville had just consumed my life in general. Okay, so that's the channel update. You can find me writing over Daily Planet. You can see me over at the Council podcast, and this channel will be for more of like, obviously, the things I love. I watched it, I make a video. That's basically what's gonna happen. But I won't probably be doing too many reviews anymore, and like just depending. Like I won't be covering everything. Like if something happens Friday, I can't be liable to cover it Saturday. Okay, now finally, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about this video. Into the video. I finally watched Smallville, and I really wanted to make a video about it. Even when I first started watching Smallville about a month ago, I watched it very quickly. I did not even intend to make a video, but that's how much I love this show. Man, it's so great. And I think this year is actually the 20th anniversary of Smallville, and that wasn't even intentional when I started watching it. I think that's pretty cool though. But just so you know, my history with Smallville, I actually did start binging Smallville back in college, but it was just one of those things where I just got busy. I kind of forgot about it. It wasn't even intentional, and I actually finished season 3, and I didn't even start season 4, and I will tell you why that is important later. But since it had been so long since I watched Smallville, I really tried to pick up from where I left off, and I did not remember anything that happened. So I just restarted the whole thing. I rewatched you know, seasons 1 through 3, and then I experienced seasons 4 through 10 for the first time. Oh my god, it was fantastic. Smallville consumed my life. Like, if you follow me on Twitter, which you should, I don't know why you have not been following me on Twitter. It's very fun. But you know, Smallville consumed my life because I shared a lot about it over there. This show was addicting. So this video is really just to take you through my Smallville experience, from the characters to the villains to like how they address the Superman mythology to even the soap opera elements of the show. And at the end, I actually also will reveal my final Smallville season rankings, because I did share some of that on Twitter as well, but I didn't share what I thought of seasons 9 and 10 and where they rank, and you never know, maybe my rankings changed. So that will all be in the video later on. And honestly, I have been trying to plan out this video for a while because I just have so many thoughts on this show because I love it so much, as I said. And I have copious notes. I'm not even exaggerating. I have a lot of notes, and I was really trying to organize this video the best way I could, but I still have no idea how long this video is going to be. So I guess just grab a snack, get some water, stay hydrated, Okay, let's get into Smallville. Oh my gosh, I love this show. Okay, so let's just start with season 1, first impressions. Season 1 was probably understandably the most episodic season of them all, because it would kind of had a villain of the week kind of format, and also you have Clark Kent, teenage Clark Kent, like discovering his powers every few episodes. Each villain of the week is basically a human that has been changed and morphed by the meteor rock, which we know is kryptonite, but at that time Clark doesn't know, which is hilarious to me. I mean, I guess I always wondered, looking back, see, I feel like this video is gonna have so many tangents because it's not my notes, but looking back, one of the things about Clark that was, I guess, a quirk of his that his friends always knew about was when he would get close to Lana, he couldn't function. He actually just fell out, or he was just being awkward. I mean, the friends like Chloe and Pete thought that Clark was just being awkward, but we, the audience, saw that Lana was wearing a green necklace, which turns out to be kryptonite. And it's like, how? I mean, I guess they just dismissed it as awkwardness, but how did it take this long for you to realize it wasn't just Lana that was making you awkward? But anywho, I don't know why that just popped into my mind. But anywho, even though season 1 only gave me crumbs in terms of like references and things like that, I feel like the only was this season 1 where Clark ran for school president or something, or was that season 2? But this video was about to be so disorganized. I'm so sorry. But even seeing Clark run for president and it said "Man Up Tomorrow," even something as simple as that made me so giddy. This whole show made me feel so giddy and happy all the time. Well, most of the time. We'll get there. But even Lex in season 1, I was not expecting to like the Clark and Lex friendship, but I really, really did. Even though Lex in season 1 is a problem, because I did not realize how much older he was. I mean, he was maybe is he supposed to be like 21 or something? But at that point, Clark is a freshman. Like, all the friends are freshmen in high school, so they're supposed to be like 15 or something. So why was Lex getting involved with the lives and like love interest and like basically the whole soap opera of, Clark, Lana, and like Whitney at that time? Man, I forgot about Whitney. But he really was getting way too involved, and then even it's so strange because I love the friendship between Clark and Lex in the early seasons, but looking back, like, Clark is supposed to be 15, Lex is 21, like, okay, that's a bit weird. Yeah, but season 1 of Smallville was, at this point, I was enjoying the show. It was pleasant to watch, like, while I was doing something, while I was cooking or whatever, but at this point, I wasn't sure about Smallville, even though I love how many, like, guest appearances, because of the whole villain of the week aspect. We have so many guest appearances with just random actors and actresses that I was not expecting. Like, Tony Todd, Candyman showed up. Even Amy Adams was in the episode. I think that was season 1, I'm pretty sure. But oh man, that was so awesome. And there were so many times when someone would show up as just, that episode's guest, and I'm like, I know you from somewhere. And it bothered me so much I had to look it up every single time. And that happened a lot. Now, the Kents, the foundation of the show, Martha and Jonathan Kent. Well, it's the foundation, like, at least the earlier seasons. I love the relationship between, Martha Kent, Jonathan Kent, and their son, Clark Kent, and the family dynamic is just so precious to me. It's so special to me. Like, I love them so much. I love obviously their parents, they will be protective of their child. I mean, if they're good parents, and they are good parents. But again, I still love the protectiveness that they have over Clark, but also wanting to help him discover, like, as he's discovering his powers. Like, it's just so awesome. I just love them. I love Martha and Jonathan. And even the father and son, even the father and son discussions that Jonathan would have with Clark, and trying to, teach him lessons, even though sometimes maybe those lessons weren't picked up immediately. But oh man, like, the early seasons when Clark was in high school and constantly having to get advice from his parents, like, God, it was so great. They were awesome. Cast perfectly in everything. Oh, by the way, because I'm kind of still in season 1 mode, I want to mention that Smallville mastered the cliffhanger endings. Like, so just catastrophe, just chaos every time, and every time there's a to be continued. These cliffhangers, man. Yeah, it's just funny because I know Smallville came before, and I know there are a few seasons that did overlap, I think. But I know Smallville came before, but those cliffhangers really just reminded me of Supernatural. And if you are a Supernatural fan, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's get further into the show and the nitty gritty. But again, like, God, there's so much to cover on this show. Like, I could have done a video on each season, but oh my gosh, that would have been so much. But that's how much content there is really with Smallville. If you haven't watched it, like, please watch Smallville. Like, it's worth your time. Now, with Clark Kent and Lex, and I'm going to talk about different characters now. But I really, really love Tom Welling as Clark Kent. I want to say this now so I don't forget, because I may get so, so lost in everything I want to talk about. But he is awesome. I just love the journey of the character from season 1 all the way into season 10. Tom Welling just really embodied Clark Kent so well, from just the teenage Clark Kent to kind of maturing into college. And then I think season 9 Clark was my favorite, probably. Like, the maturity, the confidence, the discovering himself. Man, I love it. So, but in season 2, that's when Clark, because again, season 1 was the most episodic, still learning his powers every few episodes. But in season 2, that's where Clark finally learns who he is, where he comes from. But that's where he's also struggling, that he has this destiny set by his father, and that could, like, change the course of his life. That's the kind of season that season 2 is. Even in season 2, Clark was still discovering his powers. And by the way, oh my God, I think he finished mostly discovering his powers, other than flying. But the only power that he did not discover until later, other than flying, was the super breath. Like, he didn't discover that until season 5 because he got sick. I'm like, why did it take this long for him to get this power? It was so strange. With Clark and Lex, again, I really love the friendship between Clark and Lex, and every time they would reference their friendship and how long they thought it would last, and it's so strange. Like, you get this weird giddy feeling because it's not gonna last. And like, oh, we know you won't be friends forever, but at the same time, it's kind of like a tragedy. I mean, man, it's kind of like a Shakespearean tragedy, the way they did that. I really liked it. But in season 4, that's really, because earlier seasons, Clark would defend, Lex against, Jonathan, mostly Jonathan, but, anyone who would come in and say, oh, Lex is a Luthor, blah, 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 the typical thing. And it's just, I actually love that. Like, I love the faith that Clark has in people. And it's strange because even though Lex Luthor and you know who Lex Luthor is and will be, at times you wanted Clark to be right about Lex, and that he can't, blame the sins of the father on the son. But Clark was too late. Like, maybe if Clark and Lex had grown up together, it would be a different story. But I think Clark was too late. Even the way Lex investigated Clark for so long, and he just would not let it go. Man, like, Lex, God, so many characters do this, but Lex would always talk about the secrets that Clark was keeping from him. But Lex, come on, you're being hypocritical, very hypocritical. Like, season 4, definitely season 5, is where Clark's friendship with Lex is even more strained, because Clark discovers that he had a whole, oh my God, Lex had a whole room dedicated to Clark and his mysteriousness and the Kents. So that's when he really begins to distrust Lex more and more. So when you see that rift, oh wow, they did that so well. They did it so well. I love that aspect of Smallville. Oh yeah, okay, another thing. I just looked at my notes, and remember, I'm gonna get this out of the way right now so no one bothers me about it. Klana, Lois Lane, Clark Kent. I am not a Klana shipper. I think that's is that the actual ship name? I have never shipped them. I will never ship them together. I don't like them together from season 1 all the way until season 8. I have never wanted them to be together. I just want to establish that, because I feel like a lot of people who don't like Clark Kent and Lois Lane together, that kind of comes from the frustration that we all have from later seasons. But even season 2, season 3, though, when going back and forth and everything, I just never was rooting for them to be together. At that point, I was just rooting for them to maybe be together so they could just break up and get over it. Like, that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Like, even before Lois came into the game and came into the show, I never wanted Clark and Lana to be together. They caused me so much stress and frustration. Even the Chloe, oh god, I forgot about this, but the Chloe, Clark, and Lana love triangle was just pure stress and the bane of my existence in season 2. Oh my gosh. And the thing is, when it comes to Lois Lane, the character, I really did like Lana in some parts, especially in the earlier seasons. Like, even especially season, I think it was season 2, and there was this episode where she gets, accosted and harassed and almost attacked by this college guy who comes into the Talon. And I actually really liked her after those episodes because she was so determined to kind of like take the power back into her own hands. And after that, like, she was always the one after that, if there was like another villain of the week, you could rely on Lana. She was great, actually. And I liked Clark and Lana when they were friends, and it was for a very short period, but there was no pressure of what if, or will they, won't they get into a relationship, or are they gonna go on a date? Oh no, the date was ruined because this villain came in and Clark had to deal with it, but Lana doesn't know because she doesn't know about Clark's powers. Like, I can't. And then towards the mid to later seasons, I'm sorry, but there was just something about Lana's character that felt purposeless, because you feel it more like in season 6, because in season 4 you can tell they tried to give Lana this really interesting storyline, but it was kind of strange to me because it was basically she had this strange tattoo that was connected to her ancestors, but it's also somehow connected to something Kryptonian, so she was also part of the story without realizing that she was connected to Clark. But it was that aspect of it was so strange. But especially, I mean, even though in season 5 for a little bit Clark and Lana were together, I was happy for them because mostly I was happy for Clark. But season 6, I will get to season 6 later. My god. Oh my god. So much frustration. So much frustration. I kind of skipped over season 3. It's okay, whatever. I'm not actually even going in order of the seasons. I'm just going in order of my own thoughts, and I don't know what I wrote when I typed down. But okay, we're on season 4. Because I will know, and you will see this in my rankings, I like season 3, but out of the seasons, it feels so disjointed in the pacing and even the plots of the episodes. So sometimes I just kind of forget about season 3. And no, it's not just because, oh, it's an earlier season, because I love season 2, I love season 4, but even season 1 actually, even with the episodic nature. But something about season 3 was just okay. I did want to mention Pete because I really liked Pete, and I actually liked when, I mean, he was initially angry, but I really liked when he found out about Clark's powers, and he was just a good friend. But I hate that he just kind of disappeared after season 3, because it felt like that plot for him to leave the show came out of nowhere. I did not know where it came from. So that kind of sucks. He's not more in my notes. It's just because a lot of my notes have to do with the later season. So let's get to it. Starting with season 4, even though it's not a later season. But season 4 was when I really started to love the show, and that's why I wanted to mention, because how did I stop watching Smallville right as it got super good? Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, what in the world? Because season 4 is when the queen, Lois Lane, comes in, and she is perfect. She is so perfect. She just, man, Lois Lane came into the show and just saved my life, because season 3 was a bit boring, and season 2 was just, Chloe, Clark, Lana frustration. season 4 was a breath of fresh air, even though Erica Durance as Lois Lane wasn't in every episode of season 4, but there was just something about season 4 that was just so precious to me. I loved senior year of high school. I even liked that Clark joined the football team. Like, even though he wasn't all the way to season 9 Clark, you could kind of tell that he was getting more confident in his powers, and I really loved season 4. But Lois Lane, oh my gosh, I loved her so much. I love her now. And it was so strange. I have always loved Lois Lane as a character, so I was very nervous and afraid that Lois would come in and I wouldn't like her, but man, I loved her with just a couple episodes. And it's just so weird because, again, I like Lois Lane, but it wasn't until watching Smallville that I noticed how similar I am to Lois, and maybe that's why I love her so much. Who knows? But most of this video later, like most of the second half of this video is going to be Lois Lane and Clois oriented. Oh my god, it's so precious to me. So precious. But yeah, again, I'll get into it more later, but I love Lois's personality. I love like that kind of the friendship I guess she has with Clark in the beginning. I laugh as I say this because they were kind of like not frenemies, but like they would go, the banter, the bickering, basically they would go back and forth, and even them going back and forth was still so precious to me. That's why I love season 4. But I do like, man, I really wish Lois could have been like what's it called, like a main, well, she always was a main character, but she didn't appear in every episode, I don't think, until season 10, because I don't think they could use her character. So strange to me. Before I forget, because this is kind of a smaller thing, well, we had a lot of guest appearances like on this show, and I love all of them. I love Aquaman, I love Cyborg, Victor, even though with Cyborg they couldn't, I guess because of just maybe money reasons, they couldn't do the actual appearance of the Cyborg. It was only once when I think Clark used his x-ray, and that's when you kind of see the machine underneath. But I love Bart Allen, Mira, Amanda Waller. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot about Amanda Waller when Pam Grier showed up, the icon Pam Grier. Oh my god, as Amanda Waller, perfection. Perry White, like, man, we had Deadshot, we had Suicide Squad make an appearance, Plastique. So many guest appearances. And then also there was some, I really wish Zatanna could have showed up more in the show. She only showed up maybe a couple episodes. And even Black Canary, I wish she had been upgraded to at least a supporting character so we could have saw more of her. She was so awesome. But out of all the guest appearances, I think Aquaman, the guy who plays Aquaman, or just the way they wrote his character, I don't know. He was the only one who was a bit bland for me, but at the same time, at first, later on I really liked him. But I think that's also because I just really love Jason Momoa as Aquaman. He's perfect, so I just, at this point, I can't even see other people as Aquaman unless it's animated. Man, I'm so scatterbrained with this video. I'm so sorry if I'm annoying, but whatever. But okay, so season 5, that's where you have the aftermath of the meteor shower. And again, as I said before, this is kind of where Clark and Lana were dating for a bit, because Clark lost his powers. He was going to college for a little bit, and he had a professor who actually turned out to be Brainiac, which that was obvious. But by the way, Clark, again, I love Clark's faith in people, and the, you know, again, the faith he has in people to be good. Like, that's integral to the character. But he trusted Brainiac way too fast. I mean, I know it was his professor, but he was suspicious from the start. He was suspicious from the start with Brainiac and the way he would interact, and I'm like, Clark, do you really trust this man? Do you really trust them? No. Anywho, when it comes to Chloe, I want to mention this here. I guess I'll mention it later. Chloe is not one of those characters I really loved, because it really went up and down for me. Because season 1, great. Season 2, irritating. Like, again, I know you're a teenage girl. I know you're in love with Clark for some reason. You know, one of those like best friend kind of loves, and like, oh, I'm your best friend, you don't notice me, blah blah blah. But it got to a point where I would get so mad at Chloe. Even though the character is a teenage girl, I get, you know, immaturity. But at the end of the day, can't be mad that Clark just doesn't like you like that. Like, It was so strange because the entire like kind of season 2, I hated the way that Chloe treated Clark, and even how Lana treated Clark. Like they really treated him always like this jealous ex-boyfriend, even though neither of them really dated him at that point. It was so weird. And what made me also more irritated is that Chloe broke up, or just said like they shouldn't pursue anything romantic. She initiated that with Clark. Then Clark said, okay, fine. But at the same time, at that point, oh my god, the soap opera of it all. But at that point, Clark was searching for Jonathan. Remember that cliffhanger I mentioned in Martha and Jonathan Are in Danger? No one can find Jonathan Kent. So of course Clark is going to be distracted, and at that point he's not the confident man he becomes later. So do you really think that Clark is going to say like, wait, no, like I actually really like you? Because he can barely tell Lana that. Man, I feel like I'm gonna go into so many rants, especially when we get to season 8. But I'm gonna go into so many rants, so bad. But in mid-season, well, kind of season 4, season 5, Chloe, especially when season 5, when Chloe found out about Clark's powers, I was actually very impressed with her. I was very surprised that when she found out, she didn't immediately, even though she gave major hints that she knew, kind of, she didn't pressure Clark to tell her, in which I was just so shocked by, because in the early season, there was a whole episode where she had basically like, she could make people tell the truth for a short period of time, and she really abused that so much. So Chloe was such a good friend in those seasons, like season 5 to about season 7, Chloe was awesome. But 8-ish, oh yeah, definitely 8, I just remembered, but end of season 8 to 10, Chloe got on my nerves. I'll get to that later, but so that's why just Chloe's not a character I love, because she went up and down and up and down and up and down. But I really did enjoy part of season 5 also, because that is when, even season 4 is when the relationship between Clark and Lex is becoming more strained, and season 5 is when Lex is really becoming more villainous. I don't know why I'm like using this hand movements to describe Lex, but it really is when he's becoming more villainous, and he's really becoming Lex Luthor, not Lex who's in Smallville, who's kind of Clark's friend and now not Clark's friend. Like, he's becoming Lex Luthor, and it was so awesome to witness.
It's a complicated world, Clark. Only the naive view it in black and white. You know, the other day, a professor of mine, he accused Luthor of being evil, and you being just short of the devil. Well, you didn't tell him about my pitchfork, did you? I defended you. I guess I am naive.
I forgot about Lionel. Oh my god. I forgot about Lionel Luthor, because season 5 was also the season that he kind of was becoming a better person, but not really. Okay, it was very strange. But I remember watching the earlier seasons of Smallville and the way Lionel would treat Lex, and then you wonder why Lex is how he is. But anytime Lionel would do something, man, Lionel was evil. He was just evil, especially in those early seasons, and he was just an evil man. It's just so strange, because like, okay, he's a Luthor. We know. I'm pretending like I don't know what Luthors are. But Lionel was a lot. Even in the later seasons, Lionel was still a lot. He irritated me so much in season 6. I cannot with him. Let's go to season 6. Let's just go to season 6, because I feel like I'm going to get more into the mythology of it all with the later seasons. But had to get into the soap opera elements. I had to get into it. The reason that Lionel is making me think about season 6 is because in season 6, Lionel kind of becomes an emissary for Jor-El, so he's more aligned with Clark and wanting to help him and everything. And at the same time, there's just something in me that will just never trust Lionel Luthor, and it just came out of nowhere at the same time. But season 6 was frustration, because season 6, it has so many good moments and episodes, and it really does. But the Lex and Lana relationship, that feels like it came out of nowhere. In the earlier seasons, I kind of was getting a vibe from Lex, but I never thought they would go anywhere with it. And then that's where I really started disliking Lana's character, because it felt like the writers did not know what to even do with Lana. So the Lex and Lana thing and the triangle with Clark, it was so annoying. Like, season 6 was this season that I barely wanted to watch the show, but at the same time I just wanted to watch it so I can finish the season and get away from it. That's how I felt. Because even the finale of the show was just all over the place. Like, oh my god, I really dislike season 6 because they focus so much on the soap opera elements of it and the romance and what was happening with Lex, Lana, Clark, and all of that, but they didn't focus on what should have been the main plot, which was helping Clark, or following Clark as he chases the people who escape from the Phantom Zone. It was just so strange. Like, season 6 did not even feel like Clark was a main character other than those like special episodes. So strange. And it turns out in the finale that Lionel knew what was going on the entire time, and he turned out to be forcing Lana into a marriage with Lex so she could be a spy or something, but he didn't just tell Clark what was going on or something. What happened this season? I will never know. I said, with season 6, it just felt like Clark wasn't in the main plot. Like, yeah, he was in the main plot of the whole Lex and Lana or whatever was going on, but that shouldn't be the main plot. That should be the subplot B or C or whatever. That should not be what encompasses the entire season other than this special episodes. Like, I'm thinking of, I think it was either 11 or 12. I forget the number, but it was called Justice, and you saw Oliver Queen, Aquaman, Bar, Clark, Aquarius, and Victor, Cyborg. So that was actually an awesome episode. So other than those few episodes, there was even like a kind of a Chloe episode in this season that was great. But overall, as a whole, I suffered during the season. I suffered. But I did want to know, this was the season that Oliver Queen arrived onto the scene. I didn't even know that Oliver Queen was really a character, or like, a major character in Smallville. But oh my god, when Oliver Queen came into Smallville, I just love him. And season 6 was also the beginnings of the passionate reporter Lois Lane, because before this she was just kind of doing everything. So this is when she gets more into, wanting to do journalism. So that was great to see. But again, overall, Lex Lana could have been taken out. No, I don't. Oh god, no. We spent way too much time on it. Okay, now with season 7, it's very strange. Even though season 3 is a weaker season for me and season 6 caused me a lot of frustration, there's something about season 7 that is the most forgettable. Like, I know things happened, but I don't know what those things were. And basically, even though Bizarro showed up for a little bit and Clark and Lana tried again with their relationship, after everything that happened, after everything that, Lex and Lana got married, it's the whole thing. They got divorced. Lana faked her death. Okay, goodness. Man, like, I'm so privileged because at least I could binge this. I just cannot imagine, when it comes to the frustrating aspects of the show, especially with season 6 and 7, I cannot imagine watching this week to week. Oh man, I would have been so mad all the time. But I do want to note here, I joke about it, I don't like Lana, but for real, guys, Clark and Lana, that whole relationship, it really, really, really bogged down the show, really slowed it down. It really just felt like a relationship that should have been left in high school, because they just had no trust either way. They just were not good together whatsoever. It was just, I think that was just a major mistake that the writers, producers, whose ever decision that was with Lana, and even for Lana to be a character that was just still there, that was a major mistake in my point of view. Even though season 7 did have Kara, which was awesome to see, it was awesome to see her show up, but it was still just a weird season. It felt like kind of a transition season, and but it did have great moments. Like, the thing is, it had great moments, not necessarily great episodes. Like, season 7 did have I think a good finale where it had the final showdown between Lex and Clark, and that's the cliffhanger that I mentioned when the Fortress of Solitude, collapses on them. But even their conversations, and that last conversation, and even their conversations just between Lex and Clark in general when they were more adversaries, very impressive. Okay, I have returned. I had to take a slight break from filming, so don't mind the outfit change. Okay, so I believe where I stopped was before I finished season 7. So season 8, this is when I personally don't know. Well, I know about some Smallville fans really started to love the show season 9 and 10. I really started to love it in season 8, even though I have problems with season 8 in terms of the second half. We'll get to that. But I really love this season because we have so much more Superman mythology and like the Daily Planet. Like, oh my gosh, I love all the Daily Planet things going on here, because even though we saw Chloe and Lois was already working at the Daily Planet at this point, but this is when Clark starts to work at the Daily Planet, and you just see the interactions more between Clark Kent and Lois Lane working at Daily Planet. Oh my god, it's so great. So season 8, this is the season where Lana is gone finally at the start of the season. And I really feel like this is where you can start to see Clark Kent as a character really start to mature. Oh, and I forgot this is the season that Tess Mercer comes in. I love this character so much. I love Tess. This is something related to, I don't think we find this out until season 10, but she's basically supposed to be a Lena Luthor character, because it turns out that she is a Luthor actually biologically. But I love Tess. She is like the pragmatic villain to anti-hero to kind of hero, because she kind of helps. She joins the team in the later season, but I just love her whole attitude. She walked into the room and the first scene in season 8, and I immediately knew, like, okay, this is someone important that we need to know. I love Tess. Love her so much. But yeah, but the strange thing is, I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but in season 8 there was also Lex kind of in the background but always unseen. And I don't know why, like, for so long I did not really realize that season 7 moment between Clark and Lex was truly Lex's death in a way, even though he does truly die in this season because of Oliver. But for the whole time I thought, okay, there's no way they're gonna kill Lex like that. He's gonna come back some way. There's no way they killed him in such a lame death. Like, first, I mean, I guess the Fortress of Solitude is a good death, but then the way he's killed later in the season is through an explosion, kind of off screen-ish, which is just so, like, I think Lex deserved better. Come on.
See, they both felt that you were the kind of son a father could be proud of.
They would have felt the same way about you, Lex. If you would have tried. What happened to you?
I did try, Clark. In fact, when we first met, you inspired me. All I wanted was to be your friend, but turn your back on me.
So you're the person you are today because of me. I tried to be your friend, Lex. But all you care about is power and control.
This is Smallville! Meteor freaks, alien ships, cryptic symbols. These threats are real. Someone had to take control. Someone has to protect the world.
Listen to yourself, Lex. You're so caught up in your own delusions, you've lost track of reality.
Have I? Then let's talk about something you can't deny. After years of pleading with my father to show me some compassion, he turned to you with open arms. Now, what would a worldly billionaire have in common with a simple farm boy?
Maybe he just knew he could trust me.
Of course. Everyone can trust Clark Kent. You're the perfect son. So why did Jonathan Kent always seem so stressed? I mean, was raising the perfect son really that much work? I wonder how much of a strain it put on his heart.
Are you blaming me for my father's death? Are you? You're the guilty one, Lex, not me. And this time you're gonna own up to what you've done. I know you killed Lionel.
Who's delusional now?
I have proof.
But oh yeah, and also I really did love at first I really did love Chloe and Jimmy together, but in this season, this is the season that I started to dislike Chloe again, because I just felt that Jimmy deserved better. He deserved so much better. And we have this new character, Davis, who at first I liked, and I think maybe because I like the actor playing him as well, I think he was just doing a good job. But then you realize that Davis is supposed to be Doomsday, and it's like, why this interpretation of the character? Like, why make him basically a human, or he thinks he's human, who's just been on Earth and doesn't know that he, like, sometimes he's at first he's having blackouts, doesn't realize that he's like a killer. it was just very strange. And then he had a connection with Chloe, but it was mostly because of Brainiac. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But Chloe was like at one point a whole vessel for Brainiac. Oh my god, I forgot about that. But this is like a bit much, even though I did love the more guest appearances like Plastique, and oh yeah, the Legion of Superheroes, they showed up. Oh, that was awesome. And one thing, again, even though season 8 is the start of some very precious close moments, especially with the Daily Planet, as I said before, this is the season that we're free from Lana. Or so we think. Because, oh my god, mid-season, Lana shows up again for this weird 4-episode storyline where Clark all of a sudden goes, like, it's so strange, just such a strange choice, because Clark starts off season 8 declaring that he's done with the past, done dwelling on the past, but mid-season, when he's just connecting with Lois, Lana shows up, and they have this whole weird 4-episode storyline where they try to be together again, and then Lana for one episode gets superpowers. Wait, was that the episode? Something, but then she has to become a vessel for kryptonite, so she has to stay away from Clark. And it's like, what was the purpose? What was the purpose of her showing up again, just for them to try again with their failed relationship that they failed at for 1,000 times? And then, like, by the way, that was orchestrated by Lex, the whole kryptonite thing. So, and then to just orchestrate that they can't be together, like some tragic like Shakespearean play. Like, no, I had so much respect for Clark in the beginning of the season, but I'm like, okay, the writers, what are we doing? We're going against, character development, basically. That frustration for those 4 episodes of Lana really took me out of the game. And I was really hoping that would be the only thing in season 8 that irritated me, but it wasn't. With season 8, I'm going to go to the other things that I did not like before I go back to positives. But, because like I said with Doomsday, and they made Davis Doomsday and had Chloe have some kind of connection with him, this is where I didn't like Chloe, because she allied with Doomsday or Davis or whoever, and it was to a point where it was just crazy. She was keeping secrets from Jimmy, keeping secrets from Clark and Oliver, harboring basically a serial killer, in the Talon, and it was just I blamed her. I blamed her for a lot of what happened, and it led to my beloved Jimmy dying. And what was crazy is that Jimmy wasn't even killed by Doomsday. He was killed by Davis, who had been separated by Doomsday at that point. And Chloe had vouched for Davis. That's why I was so angry at her. I was so angry at her. And I was angry at the show because they hoodwinked us. They hoodwinked us with Jimmy Olsen, because when they're having the sad funeral, tears rolling down my face, all of a sudden they say Henry James Olsen, and I'm like, that was like, I had a moment where I'm like, huh? Like, I had to make sure. I'm like, I could have sworn Jimmy Olsen's first name really was James. Like, I had a whole moment where I just doubted all of my knowledge. But then I realized it really wasn't Jimmy, the Jimmy Olsen we know and love, because then his younger brother, who's actually, James what's his middle name? Bartholomew? I can't pronounce it, but you know what I'm talking about. So that's actually, his younger brother is actually the Jimmy Olsen that will grow up and be Jimmy Olsen, But I hated that at the same time, at that time, because I think they did that just to get away with killing a character they know is beloved or beloved, but they also have the excuse of, oh, it wasn't really him. Why? Come on, guys. God, jeez. But back to positives. One last thing I wanted to mention, because I'm not sure if I mentioned it beforehand, but I really do love Oliver and Clark's friendship. Is everything to me. They're everything. Once I get to season 9, I'm gonna start talking more about Lois and everything and their moments and how they're precious to me. But I don't think enough people talk about the friendship between Clark and Oliver, and the way they support each other. But at the same time, I feel like Oliver challenges Clark and his his morals. But we know Clark. We know he's not gonna we know he's not gonna step too far outside of like what he personally believes in. But also just like the way they support each other as heroes and as people. Oh, I really love that so much. But overall, the finale of season 8 was, I think, the most depressing, because Lois disappeared because she accidentally touched the Legion ring and disappeared. Jimmy's gone, but it wasn't Jimmy. The Justice League is disbanded because they're just all in disagreement. And then now Clark is in one of those seasons, that Clark believes that, oh my gosh, my human emotions, they're a weakness. I can't do this anymore. That's basically like how the season ends. Okay, season 9 and season 10. Oh my gosh, I may blend these together. My notes are like everywhere for this. But oh my gosh. Okay, so first, in terms of guest appearances, this is where we had just the Justice Society of America, Amanda Waller. Oh my god, I lost my mind when I saw Amanda Waller and I saw the icon, the legend, Pam Grier walk onto the screen. I was in awe. I'm like, this is perfect. This is perfect. I cannot believe she was Amanda Waller on Smallville. Like, oh my god, loved it. Oh yeah, and there was even like a little cute appearance by the Wonder Twins, and they were like, fans of, of course, fans of Superman. And even though they were kind of messing things up when they were trying to help things, it led to a really cute moment at the end of the episode where Clark, as the Blur, they kept that name for so long, but as the Blur went to them and thanked them for their work. And it was just so, I love, the best moments in the show is when you really see the hope that Clark inspires, and not only that you see it, but I think Clark needs to see it as well in the show. So I thought that was a great moment. I love the Wonder Twins episode, actually, even though they were really messing things up a lot. And like I said, this is when Chloe as a character started to go down. I'm like, we just finally got rid of Lana, and now she kind of became like a Lana replacement, and it was just so weird. She was very annoying, and she had like this weird, the thing is, she always kind of had this attitude, but it got worse or something, because she got this weird superior attitude about Clark and how to handle things related to Tess at that point. And it was just, she was very morally gray, and I don't have a problem with that, but the way she did it, and the way that her whole superior attitude towards Clark, and she didn't have any faith in Clark and even blamed him for Jimmy and everything, it really got on my nerves. Like, I love season 5 Chloe was probably my favorite, but it's like, where in the world did you go from Clark's biggest supporter to his biggest doubter? It was, oh god, especially when she was also partially responsible for the whole Davis and Jimmy situation, but she never really acknowledged it. So not enough for me. Other than that, that's my only complaint for season 9, because even though I was really worried for Oliver, but I still love Oliver here. Oliver was, in this season, he was very going back and forth about what he did to Lex, and if he was a good person, and you know, that kind of struggle for Oliver. But I actually kind of like that storyline for him. I'm not sure I like how they resolved it, because Chloe kind of made this weird scenario for him. But okay. But season 9, I love this season because Clark and Lois just saved my life. Like, I love them so much. It was so many great moments between Clark and Lois. And I think also because I love season 9 Clark. Like, season 8 was a stepping stone, but they kind of with the whole Lana thing, they kind of stepped in the way of him really, you know, going all the way to mature, confident adult. But season 9 Clark was something else. Like, the confidence, the maturity, like, it was, I loved him so much.
Are you crazy? Tess, this isn't a cartoon. You're gonna hurt somebody.
That's the basic idea.
All right, then.
Don't you come near me.
Stop!
Stay out of this, Clark.
A little lady here is a checkmate agent. She knows my identity. Not just yours. Tess, I need some answers.
I'm not telling you anything.
Maybe the view will change your mind.
Let me down from here!
Tell me about checkmate, no lies.
And I think that's also what led me to loving, well, I mean, I'm always gonna love Clark and Lois, but so many, even the first kiss, let's say, between Clark and Lois was initiated by Clark. And I was like, I was so shocked because for some reason I'm still expecting season 3 Clark or season 4 Clark or even season 5 Clark. You know, like, it took a while for him to like mature and just get that confidence, because I just was expecting another moment where it's like, oh my god, the chemistry, why don't you guys just kiss, what's going on, and but just ultimately being disappointed. But I really love Clark in this season. I always love Lois, by the way. Lois is awesome, but this is when Clark really stepped up for me. And when it comes to Lois, what can I say? What can I say to describe this perfect character? Because Lois, as a reporter at this point, has been reporting on the Blur. And I don't even know why I'm putting air quotes around that. We know the Blur is Clark, you know, Superman. He'll be called Superman someday. But at this point, Lois is reporting on the Blur and his saves and the field and everything. And I just love Lois's faith in the Blur. Like, it's very heartwarming. And I love that she really felt that she wanted to do something meaningful, and that's why she has so much faith in the Blur as, you know, a person trying to do good work. And like, even though she is not aware at that point that that's Clark, it makes you even love Clark more as well. Like, and then it's just that duality of like, okay, Lois doesn't know, but Clark knows that Lois is supportive of him, and like, even though she doesn't know it's him. It's like a weird thing, but it was great. I loved how they handled the whole the Blur, and with the phone booth. Oh my gosh, the phone booth, man. The relationship between, I think how they handled the Daily Planet, Lois reporting on the Blur, Clark, you know, having contact with Lois, but, you know, Lois not knowing his identity, but also the Clark and Lois relationship developing at the same time. I think that was handled perfectly in this season. Honestly, like, season 9 was awesome. But then at the same time, we have Zod, who has come into the scene, but actually as like himself, not possessing Lex. Like, what season was that? Season 6, 5, what? Something. But I love Zod. At first, I really wasn't sure about Zod the first few episodes, but I don't think it was until really that Clark started interacting with him and actually just went and found him. Again, that was another moment where I really loved Clark, because earlier season Clark would never just confront the villain in like a third of the way through the season. They would have waited to the season finale and then had the showdown or whatever. But Clark went to Zod. Zod had his followers. I like the actor. He was very, like, I don't know. He was very smooth villain in general. And he was a great adversary. Like, anytime he was on screen, I was paying attention. Even though the whole Zod and Tess thing, what was going on there. And I just remembered that, actually. But I'm actually gonna blend this into season 10 because there's just so many things that overlap here. And I think, oh god, I just remembered. Okay, so season 10 is when Lois finally finds out about Clark. But even, okay, for a small moment, Zod tries to say that, oh, he's the blur, because the way they communicate is through phone calls and it's through a, voice modulator or whatever it's called. And even though I think for a small moment, Lois kind of did believe Zod or whatever, even though she just doesn't know it was, over the phone, I did like that it wasn't immediate. And even Zod tries to go to Lois and say, oh, Clark's the one who's not trying to help me. He's suspicious of the blur. Like, there was never really a moment that Lois really believed, okay, Clark doesn't want to help me or doesn't want to help the blur or just doesn't have good intentions, Even though at a time it caused a rift in their relationship because Lois doesn't think that Clark understands, having a bigger purpose, which is like, oh my god, so hilarious. But so I really love that because the way that season 9 ended was after Clark falls off the building and he's stabbed with the blue kryptonite, Lois sees him and sees that he's stabbed, removes the knife, she sees that it's Clark and that she sees that he's the blur, and it's confirmed in her head, even though beforehand in season 9, oh my god, I may just have to play this scene. I'm gonna roll the tape. I really hope I can play this scene of when Lois has the realization, oh my gosh, Clark is the blur. I hope I can insert that scene here.
Can you ever forgive me for thinking he was you? Please say something. Anything. Finally, that's when Lois has the realization, like, oh my god, that's Clark. So I hope I can actually play this scene because my description that's so silly. But at this point, by the start of season 10, we know that Lois has realized the blur is Clark, but this is for visual confirmation that it was him. So she takes the knife out of Clark, the blue kryptonite, which that removes his powers. So it helps him heal. But I love this. Oh man, I always love Lois, but like everything she does, I'm like, man, I just love you more. Because before Clark even wakes up, Lois runs to the side, and so he won't see her. So basically, just to give still Clark the chance to tell her that he's the blur. I'm like, oh my god, I really thought that she was going to wait over his body, wait for him to wake up and be like, and just say like a little funny thing about him being the blur or something. But I still love this. I'm like, this is such perfect Lois. Oh yeah, I just want to mention it now because I did say I like Oliver, but I don't like the whole Chloe and Oliver relationship. It didn't make me dislike Oliver, that he was, because sometimes you know how some characters that you like will get with characters that you don't like and it makes you dislike them. But that didn't happen for me. But I just did. I just don't ship them. I just like I would have rather they had made Dinah's role a bigger role as just an occurring character or just supporting character sometimes than to see Chloe and Oliver together. Like, come on, why didn't they bring in Black Canary more? They really underutilize her. Like, what the hell? But I wanted to get that out of the way before I forgot to mention that because they were together this season, and they did have a cute episode where they went to the same place for a retreat, but they didn't mean to, so it became like a couples retreat somehow. It was weird. But so in the final season of Smallville, this is where, well, Clark and Lois are already together at this point, obviously, because they were together in season 9, but you see more development from the relationship with them, and then you see this is like the what do you call it? The finale also of Clark's trials that Jor-El always referenced. And this is where we really get to see in season 10 how he becomes Superman. Like, of course, like, everything has been important, you know, being in Smallville to being at the Daily Planet, like, and his trials over time. But season 10 really emphasizes that, okay, this is how he's becoming Superman. You know? I really like that. But a weird thing that I want to address now, I guess, is the villains in this episode, because this is Darkseid and Desaad, and you had Granny Goodness. I'm like, Granny Goodness? But honestly, it was more like Desaad. When I saw Desaad and realized that he was supposed to be Desaad, I'm like, okay, I guess. And I remember, I don't know why. Oh my god. I don't think I was paying attention, you guys, because I am so ashamed. I was watching a few episodes of season 10. They were always referencing the darkness, and for something did not compute in my brain because it took me so long to realize, like, oh wait, they're doing Darkseid? Like, for real? They're doing Darkseid? Like, it really wasn't until an episode before the whole Clark thing, and he finds the Omega symbol. It was only an episode before that I realized, like, oh, it's Darkseid. He's coming. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Oh my god! I'm like, am I actually a stan? I was so ashamed. But I think I feel like they really built up to this really well in the different episodes, and with Desaad and Granny Goodness, influencing Tess, and then Oliver. Oh my god, Oliver became an agent of Darkseid because he had too much darkness in the soul or something. But the way it was resolved, I didn't like, because I just feel like Darkseid shouldn't even be a villain that Superman confronts before he's even really Superman. So maybe they could have made like a different choice with that, or maybe it could have been, maybe Darkseid shouldn't have shown up at all, and it could have just been Desaad trying to bring Darkseid onto Earth, but the plans would have been foiled. Like, it could have just been Desaad and Granny Goodness and trying to bring Darkseid, give him enough influence to come over to Smallville and everything, and to Metropolis. So, I just felt like it was weird to include Darkseid, especially when in the series finale, there's a confrontation between Clark and Darkseid, and it's a great character moment for Clark because he finally flies. But other than that, Darkseid just dissipates in like smoke because Clark like flies through him. It wasn't necessary. Oh yeah, I forgot. Did I mention this? I didn't even notice this at first, but in season 10, Chloe was more absent throughout the season because because something happened. Oliver was kidnapped at the end of season 9, so basically she trades herself, and at that point, I didn't realize how long that would go on, that she would just be gone. And then she kind of allies with the Suicide Squad or something. It was a whole thing. But I didn't expect her to be gone so long. But at the same time, she was so absent in the season that I barely felt it, because her character just became a thorn in my side. And then at the same time, you have Tess. Love Tess, but this is the time that she's becoming more part of the group, and she's actually welcomed into the Watchtower. But I think the thing that really got to me the most out of the series finale is Tessa's death. Oh my god. Like, even if Tess had to die, I did not like the way they handled her death. It was like Lex came in again, or it was like a different Lex. Lex basically like killed her, even though at the same time she killed him, so I guess it was even. But oh my god, I just hated that she died, and it was so quick, and we never saw the characters mourn her. She never had a funeral. It was just, oh, it's over. So I thought Tess deserved more, honestly. Even though it really, because I watched some interviews, and it really does turn out that when in the interviews that Darkseid is not really about the villains. You know, it's about Clark becoming Superman. But at the same time, like I said, I just feel like if that's the case, just don't use Darkseid, because there was something about the series finale, the series 10 finale, even though I love so many moments. Oh my god. It was like, oh my god, it was so great. Because when, like, for example, if I can play the scene, I will. When Clark goes to the Fortress of Solitude and Jor-El finally shows him the trials that he's faced all his life, that Clark always was wondering, oh, is this a trial? Is this a trial? But then it turns out that his whole life was a trial, and, you know, saving Lex and saving Lana all the time, and saving Chloe all the time, and saving just random people all the time. That, like, it was a whole highlight reel of Smallville, basically, of the show. And it's so strange because I binged this show. I did not watch it as it aired. But even for me, I can only imagine how that felt if you were someone who watched the show as it aired and watched the series finale. I would have been going crazy. I would have been probably crying at that point, because it was, I love the way they did that. I love that Jonathan, they did that, oh my god, I'm just realizing this, because they did that so perfectly. Because you have Jor-El saying to Clark, okay, near how, it's now your time, you face your trials, like you did a good job. But then you have Jonathan Kent hand him his suit. Oh my god, it was just, oh my god, it was so fantastic. And then oh god, I really love the way they handled Clark, like from Jor-El to Jonathan to Clark flying for the first time. That was awesome. But before I get to the rest of the finale, I do want to say again, this is when we also had towards the end of the season the wedding between Clark and Lois. I'm laughing because it kind of like things happen because of Oliver. But even beforehand, like, oh man, Clark writing his vows, because there's an episode where Lois for a time gets Clark's powers and realizes everything that he can hear at one time. It was also, I got what she was saying, but it was still kind of strange for Lois, because she was doubtful of the relationship, because he should be off saving people on distraction. But at the same time, I'm like, Lois, he actually can't just be off saving people all the time. He still needs to rest, like Lois. But I understood where she was coming from, like, but at the same time, it didn't feel like it just also felt like something the writers just put in to put in some, like, oh, they gotta get married, blah blah. But it did lead to some sweet moments, because Clark sends, well, actually I think Chloe takes Clark's vows to Lois and she reads them, but it's in Clark's voiceover. And then on the other end, Lois finally decides, oh yeah, I do want to get married. But then Clark is like doubtful. So then Lois' vows are read, and I just love this as well, because she has so many like editing marks on her vows. I'm like, you know what, same. I would do the same thing. But again, it was like frustrating because, like, hey, now they switched, but at the same time it was so sweet because it was perfect. And then they were standing on opposite sides of the door because that was supposed to be their wedding day, so he can't see her, and they're like putting their hand against the door. I'm like, oh my god, like, I'm not even, like, when it comes to, I don't watch things that are purely romantic. Like, I don't romance films, even romance comedies, because they're not really that comedic. But I love elements like this in something, like in a movie or in a TV show. Like the romance is just taking me out here. Like, it was so fantastic. There were just tears everywhere for like the last few episodes of season 10. But out of all the close moments, I'll probably put some pictures up or something. Out of all the close moments, there was something that felt so good about the reading of vows, and they're on the opposite side of the doors, and they say, "See you at the chapel." Oh my god, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. Oh, I almost forgot, but in season 10, they do have a flash forward to the future, and now the actual Jimmy Olsen, who is Jimmy Olsen for real this time. He's working at the Daily Planet. Perry White is the editor. You have Lois running around. That was like, it was so quick, but it was, man, even those few minutes were just precious to me. And like, Clark leaves to the roof, and that's when we never see Tom Welling actually in the full suit. I wish we did, but that was the first time you see him opening the shirt with the red and blue and everything, and with the Superman suit. Oh my god, I'll say this before my season rankings, because the last thing I have is where I rank each season. But overall, I love this show. Like, I have small frustrations with Lana, and then Chloe was up and down for me, but especially with the later seasons, and then maybe like season 4, like 5, I think I'll guess my rankings, but I love this show. Like, it's so strange. I think I was watching season 9, even though I was really enjoying season 9. I think I was just busy with something, so I didn't want to watch a new episode, so I already went back and watched an episode from like season 2 or something, just because it was already becoming my comfort show in a way. I love these characters. I love Clark Kent. I love Tom Welling as Clark Kent. I think most of these castings honestly are perfect. Erica Durance is just the perfect Lois Lane. Jesus, like, who cast her? Because she's awesome. And then, man, everyone was perfect, even though Lana again irritated me at times, but I still think the actress Kristen Kurek, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but I still like the actress for her. All the characters, honestly, Martha and Jonathan Kent. God, it's like, this show is just so precious to me now. It's a show that I binge. It's not even a show that I grew up with or anything like that, but it's so precious to me. Like, it's just so close to my heart. And like, it's so weird that I inadvertently watched this on the 20th anniversary of the show. That was not even intentional. From seeing Clark grow up with Martha and Jonathan, and then Pete and Chloe, and Lana also, when they kind of became friends as well. And also the way they handled Clark versus Lex. But I actually really did like that they, even though it was weird that Lex was older, I like that they made Clark and Lex friends, because it added a tragic aspect to their ended friendship and to their eventual being adversaries. Because every time they would reference their friendship and like, oh, always be friends, or blah blah blah, like, that they won't, obviously. And even the way they handled Clark Kent and Lois Lane, I was actually very nervous, because the only real example we had of Clark in a romantic relationship for a long time was Clark and Lana, and that relationship was everywhere. So I didn't want the same drama with Clark and Lois, but everything that I think intentionally Smallville did this, because they really did emphasize why Clark and Lois are perfect, and why Clark and Lana need to be in the past, even though they didn't listen to themselves, because they brought Lana back for a bit, and that was irritating. But like, this show is just beautiful. Like, I love it. Like, again, it's rare that I'll find a perfect show, and there will be things that I rant about to my other Smallville people. We all know it irritates us. But at the same time, I'm actually so glad that I shared that I was watching this on Twitter, because there are so many people who kind of just watched my tweets as they came out, or tell me like, stick with it. When I get irritated with Lana, like, stick with it. Like, the later seasons are great, and now I'm following so many Chloe's accounts, and they're beautiful. It's awesome. So, those are my overall thoughts on Smallville. I love it, and yeah. But I want to do my season rankings now. Okay, so actually, maybe before I leave my rankings, leave your rankings down below, or your guess before I rank mine, either or. So you have a small moment now. So here are my rankings, season 1 to season 10. So let's start at number 10, so that means it's at the bottom. Got it? Okay, so at the bottom is actually season 7. Gosh, even though season 7, even though I really I suffered through season 6, and I really thought season 6 would be my worst season for me. But there's something about 7, even though it had great moments, I think that was the issue. It had great moments. There was no real great episodes. Yeah, it had Kara, it introduced Jimmy, and it had the Clark versus Lex thing. It was just great moments that, like, oh, I love these 2 episodes over here. I like this characterization over here. There was something about season 7 that felt so forgettable until the very end. Like, I don't know if I would rewatch so many episodes. So at number 9 is season 6, and actually, looking back, I did like the first half of season 6, but it just fell apart with the whole Lex, Lana, Clark thing, love triangle, or they're getting married. Oh, Lana is pregnant, but she's not. But it turns out that Lex was giving her drugs, and then actually stopped giving her drugs to make her think she had a miscarriage. Like, bad. My God, it's like, damn, Lex Luthor. It's like, I know you're Lex Luthor, but then he does something so Lex Luthor-y, and I'm like, my God. But anywho, it was just so contrived with the character arcs, and it actually had less focus on Clark Kent. It was so strange. He didn't even feel like a main character sometimes. But since it had at least a few standout episodes, like I had number 4, I listed the numbers. I didn't even list the actual episodes. I'll just put them up somewhere. But number 4, 10, 11, 13, and 20. So I think that's what saved it from being at the bottom. And number 8 is... number 8 is season 3. Something about season 3, this was just an okay season for me. I liked it. It was good. But the episode plots they just weren't hitting like they usually were when it comes to being interested in like watching a show, or just like, oh, I'm just watching this because I'm trying to get through the show, you know? So yeah, I liked it, but it just at times felt disjointed between the plot and the pacing, both in the overall season and then also in episodes. I think this is actually the only season 3, where I would be watching an episode and I would check the time, because it felt like the episode should have been over, but I was only halfway through. So that's why it's this low. Number 7 is season 1. Season 1 is just the OG. It's the most episodic, but I really liked it, and I like it more than season 3, so that's why it's here. And number 6 is season 5. I really liked the character development here. This is my season that I really like Chloe as well. I like the episode plots. And even though I don't like Clark and Lana as a relationship, I like that they were together for a little bit, because I just like that Clark was happy for a little bit. And then number 5 is season 2. There's just something about this season. Like, even though, again, Lana and Chloe, what's going on there? Why are you being so irritating? But this was the season that Clark was just so precious. He's always precious to me, but he was just so precious in this season. I still loved him, and then there were still a lot of episode plots, like certain episodes that I liked. But number 4 is actually season 8. I know a lot of people rank 8, 9, 10 as their top 3, but I'll tell you why I did not now. Because season 8 was pretty consistent in terms of just the whole season itself. It had very awesome Lois moments, and it felt even the Daily Planet moments were great. Them working there, I was awesome. But ultimately, I'm just docking it because of the whole Davis and Doomsday situation, and Chloe kind of that's when she kind of became weird and everything. And then that weird Jimmy twist, like the whole like, oh, it's Henry James Olsen, it's not really Jimmy Olsen, don't cry. I'm already crying. So no, you're not getting away with that. I'm gonna hold a grudge about that forever. I will. So that's why it's number 4. And number 3 is actually season 4, because Lois, obviously. This is when Lois comes into the show. It's not just Lois, but there's something about this season. I really loved the whole senior year in high school vibe about season 4. And even with the weird storyline with Lana to the side, I actually liked Lana as a character here. She didn't have like any moments. I mean, she had the relationship with the assistant coach thing that was going on, but even the weird magic-y thing going on, there was something about season 4 that just felt so on point, like from Lex, because this is where Lex and Clark were starting to disagree on things. You had Martha and Jonathan, you had Clark finally being in football, but it was just, and then of course you had Lois here, but before, they were just, they were kind of like bickering friends. I don't know if I can say they were friends at this point, but Lois and Clark were more, you know, bantering, bickering back and forth. But even when they would bicker, it was like, this is beautiful, it's perfect. How is this so perfect? So that's why season 4 ranks above season 8. So the top two. Okay, so number 2 is actually season 10. A lot of the people, at least, well, a lot of people that I followed or like followed me or followed each other on Twitter when they found out I was watching Smallville and they would talk to me about it, they would say that season 10 was their favorite, or some people said season 9 was their favorite. But I saw a lot of more season 10s. But so many people love season 10, and I love season 10 as well. I do. But to me, because the series finale felt a bit rushed at the end, even though there's many moments I loved, I think that second half of the finale felt rushed, and it's just so hard. It's so difficult when you're competing with perfection, which is season 9. I don't care what anyone says. I think season 9 is perfect. I love the Clois moments. Like, God, I have to say Clois moments so often. But I love the moments between Clark and Lois and Clark, and showing more of the Daily Planet. And again, because I think I love Clark's characterization here, some more confident, mature Clark. You had a great villain with Zod, a great finale. Season 9 was just beautiful. It's beautiful. It was awesome. I love season 9. So yes, I love season 10, but come on. I think season 9 is perfect. I think it's great. I think it's just fantastic. But season 10 is close. So people who love season 10, don't come at me. But that is my season rankings for Smallville, and those are my overall thoughts on Smallville. Oh my god, like, this video is going to be so long. It's going to be so long. But oh yeah, I did want to mention that I am reading, well, I will start reading. I've read like the first 20 pages of, I'm gonna read the season 11 comic for Smallville, and so I'll probably share my thoughts about that just maybe on Twitter, so follow me there. But yeah, we'll see how this video comes out, because this video is gonna be so long. Like, maybe I can break it up into 2 parts. I don't know. Let's see how I feel. But yeah, like I said, I love Smallville, and I'm excited to get into this comic. Again, I'll share my thoughts over on Twitter about that, because it is long. So I don't know if I'm gonna make a video on the comic or maybe afterwards, but I'm not making promises on that. But I really did enjoy talking about Smallville on this video. And I think when it was the easiest to organize it by season, because even though I was still going off on tangents every 2 minutes, I'm sorry, but it's hard with this show. But you know, at first I was actually thinking of organizing this video by characters, like ranking the characters. You know, a kind of ranking the Smallville characters kind of thing, and then going through the show.